Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints episode 115. We're a little weekly get-together. We talk about recent gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
Oh, I'm still David.
Still David. He says still David because I actually forgot to hit the streaming button and redid about 7 minutes of the show with me just recording it, but not actually casting it out.
You're watching it on YouTube, but it's probably really smooth and not a horribly awkward transition, I promise.
So, just to sum up, Monster Hunter World Beta is out. Goes away tomorrow. David, you approve?
Yes.
Awesome. We're going to talk about the Game Awards, PSX, a couple of miscellaneous things, but let's go ahead and get right into the Game Awards. I think we both agree that this is by far the best one they've done so far. It's not quite there yet, but it is getting better.
Classier.
Less cringy moments. The Bethesda save the single player campaign was kind of, but they didn't have anything as bad as Hydrobot, so definitely a plus.
Whatever pays the bills.
Right.
Anyway, let's get into the sneak previews and announcements. We don't need to talk about the awards themselves. You can look it up if you want to.
And everyone's opinions on it differently. In fact, we'll be doing our Game of the Years next Monday. If you're watching us, by the way, feel free to send in your choices of Game of the Year at GamePointsPC@gmail.com if you have your own.
Spoiler, on my list, Zelda doesn't win everything.
Yeah, same here. Zelda, I don't even think makes my list, but we'll get into that next Monday. So, the Game Awards, like I said, if you want to find out who won anything, you can check those online, but most people actually care about the reveals and trailers. And while we're not necessarily going to go over all of them, I want to mention a few of them, and we're going to start off with something that just seems like it's 3 years too late, and that is
way too late.
That is the trailer for World War Z being developed by Saber Interactive.
Why?
Do you know?
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
It looks cool enough, I guess. I like the idea of having a game in that storyline, because if you've read the book, it's way the fuck different from the movie. The movie basically just follows one character during the whole apocalypse, where the book kind of takes you slowly through the lives of a bunch of people who were in the whole Z war, as they call it.
Right.
And it starts from pre the outbreak, to when it started to spread, to the fight back, to what the military did, to what all these different nations did, to the resolution, to everything.
It just looks. It looks like a late last gen PS3 game to me.
It looks like
and everything about it feels like that too.
Days Gone is kind of crowding all over what should have been a World War Z game, and they're rushing to get this fucking thing out, even though they aren't really cut up for it, because I don't think this is going to be nearly as good as Days Gone.
Right, and this is being developed by, like I said, by Saber Interactive. If you've never heard of them, the biggest games they've done is probably Inversion and Time Shift. Both of those, I want to say, were on PS3. They were competent budget shooters, but not really all that great. If I were using the 10-point scale, I'd probably say they're between 5s and 7s.
Average.
Yeah, they just are.
Give them to a younger sibling.
It just feels weird that this is coming out, and there's no release date, just as coming soon. As far as I can tell, no platform information either. It might have said PS4, Xbox, or PC. I'm not positive.
It's a game out of time.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's way out of place. Easily, it's should have come out 3 years ago, but it's not. What else do we had announced there, David?
There was that teaser for Vacation Simulator.
Now, that I'm actually kind of excited about.
Yeah, it's the follow-up to Job Simulator. When, it's just too busy at your job and you can't handle the stress of throwing phones across the room, well, then you should go on vacation. Start taking shells off of crabs and throwing stuff at a dock and eating hot dogs.
So it sounds stupid, right? The idea of doing behind Job Simulator is moronic, but that's not the idea. That's not the point of Job Simulator. The point of Job Simulator is that's what you plug in when you want to show someone VR, what VR can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything in that goddamn game is interactive.
Yeah. And it's going to be the same with Vacation Simulator.
Yeah.
It's also got a lot of bright colors, so
yeah.
I guess it's a little bit more vibrant than a drab office can be.
Yes, it's definitely meant to push VR as opposed to, hey, this is a game. It's more of a, hey, this is what VR is capable of. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that. The next thing, I kind of want to go deeper into this, but there's really not too much we can get in about it, is that
there's almost nothing about this. Shadows die twice. That's all you fucking know.
From Software teased their next game. It was roughly 15 seconds long.
20 seconds, maybe?
No date. No platforms, no names, just ended with the phrase Shadows Die Twice. It definitely fits the Bloodborne style. It does not look like a Dark Souls game.
Yeah, it's It looks like some medieval torture device, which
It
kind of I
could
guess
be
fits
Demon
with that.
Souls, but the guys at From Software have been very clear in saying that the Dark Souls universe is done. They are done with that.
Hmm.
I highly doubt they're done with that style of game, but if I had to venture a guess, I want to say this is Bloodborne, but, and correct me if I'm wrong if you're watching, I'm pretty sure Bloodborne's owned by Sony, so why would they tease that here when they literally had their own show the next day?
Yeah. Um, I'm still upset that they won't go back to what made them famous in the first place. I know it's going to be a long time. I'm
Kingsfield?
still hopeful. No, fuck you, Armored Core.
You need to go way back then.
I'm not going way back. I'm going to potentially accessible memories for people that are slightly younger than you.
So recently, the guys at From Software did say they don't want to leave Armored Core in the state that it's in, or something along those lines. I'm not quite sure what the exact quote was, but they mentioned that they are thinking of revisiting that franchise
And I
sometime
would
down
be
the road.
so stoked. Because the funny thing is, those games were always difficult.
Oh yeah, Armored Core is no joke. They are meant to be very, very hard. But that's not why people play them, because they're hard. But I want to say the biggest draw to that is the fact that every aspect of those goddamn mechs were customizable.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. It was great.
So yeah, I'd love to talk more about whatever From Software is working on. We clearly know they're working on a game. I said the style looks like Bloodborne, but
It could be anything.
it could be anything. Next up, and I almost didn't want to cover this due to how they were treating some YouTubers in the past, but we had the announcement from Campo Santo's next game. These are guys that made Firewatch, and it's called In the Valley of the Gods.
Isn't the one guy off the project though?
No. It was Campo Santo. I think he's still part of it. I don't know. Either way, it's old news. Like I said, it's just like a knee-jerk reaction going, do I need to give these guys any coverage based on their censorious attitude toward YouTube and using the DMC as a hammer? But you know what?
That game was still popular. That game still did decently well.
And it does a disservice to people who want
of,
news.
One person who doesn't necessarily represent the company doesn't hurt everybody.
Salty Frank of the Seven Seas, I see in chat. Yeah, I was talking about what they did to Pewds. I disagree with David. I think it's the entire company that was responsible for that, not just one, because the entire company went along with it. But honestly, it's kind of old news, and it's not like I'm not going to cover this game because of that. It is what it is.
What if one of the art guys didn't have anything to do with it? Why are you mad at the art guy?
It's more. It was not just the art guy though. That entire company got into that. Either way,
put it into that, you know.
Either way, that's in the past. This is Valley of the Gods, set in 1920s Egypt. Should be coming out in 2019. It looks kind of cool. I also thought Firewatch was really good until the end, but that's also another conversation for another time. But essentially, in this game, you play as an explorer, filmmaker who, along with your old partner, has traveled to the Middle East in hopes of making a seemingly impossible discovery into an incredible film. I like Egypt as a setting. I'm all for it. I dig it. And I think that they won't shy away from the fact that in the 20s, essentially every European country was going into Egypt and discovering shit and just taking it from the Egyptians. So I get the feeling that's going to be discussed in that game, and I'm looking forward to seeing their take on it.
Yeah, cool.
So, yeah, there's that from Campo Santo. What else we got, David?
Also, previewed there was Fade to Silence. Hitting early access, actually, I think in 2 days, 3 days. But it's a post-apocalyptic frozen wasteland game. Gather resources, make a base, recruit followers, survive. It's also got some Eldritch monster nonsense. The funny thing to me is that this is another game being published by THQ Nordic, and I feel like they're on a roll right now of publishing or helping develop like solid A or B titles.
They are filling the role that THQ used to fill.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that they're doing that, because I mean, hell, they just released a fucking expansion to Titan Quest. Like, I'm all for what THQ Nordic's doing right now. It's cool.
So this game feels, once again, like we were talking about World War Z earlier, feels like it's late to the party, right? Because how many fucking open world crafting survival games are there on Steam right now? The market is saturated with these games, and I don't know how this is going to do.
Oh, it depends on how finished it is, because while there are a ton of those games. A lot of them are super broken to the point of being almost unplayable.
I don't trust that this is the first we've heard of this game, and its early access starts in 2 days.
That's fair.
So
it could be the worst game of the year, but luckily, the year is almost over.
Take that one with a grain of salt. Other things that we had at the VGAs, and this one I'm actually very surprised and excited for. Bayonetta 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch on February 16th. Awesome. Never got a chance to play Bayonetta 2 because it was a Wii U exclusive. And, this is the shocker, Bayonetta 3 announced as a Switch exclusive.
That's a good get.
Yeah. It's weird to say this, but Bayonetta is a Nintendo property now.
That's super weird.
Yeah, I know. The last 2 games were on Nintendo consoles, though. The last one was on the Wii U. So I'm glad Bayonetta 2 is getting some exposure again because no one fucking bought a Wii U. And the Switch is a great game to have this on. I'm also happy to see that it feels like Platinum Games looked at the sales of Bayonetta 2, which did not do good at all. I thought that was the dead, the nail in that franchise's coffin. And it looks like they kind of went at it and went, hey, this is probably the Wii U's fault, not the game's fault. Let's make another one. So I'm happy to see Platinum taking another risk on this. Salty Frank of the Seven Seas says, will she climax in the next Super Smash Brothers? Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, they so here's the thing. I know Nintendo has a family-friendly outlook on things for the most part. They have this image of being squeaky clean, and all this stems all the way back in the early 90s when they brought Mortal Kombat over to the Super Nintendo and they made all the blood gray, and they called it sweat instead of blood. That's not the Nintendo of these days anymore. Remember, Bayonetta...
Doom's on the Switch?
Yeah, Bayonetta is highly sexualized, and they made an amiibo of her. So Nintendo is willing to embrace this.
Get it, folks.
Yeah, so I think Nintendo's trying to grow up a little bit, and we'll see definitely how that shakes out. This is good news, though. The more developers that are kind of allowed to make exclusives of the Switch, the better, in my opinion. And I mean exclusives. I don't mean shitty ports of other console games that don't run on the Switch, and they have to really dumb them down. I'm looking at UEA specifically. We'll see how that shakes out. What else we got coming up, David?
Sea of Thieves has a release date, March 20th.
So,
and I don't care what you say, dude. This game looks rad, and I will probably play it.
I'm not saying it looks bad. I'm saying
I just think it looks fun.
I feel the hype around it is artificial.
I don't know. It's a dumb shoot 'em up co-op pirate game. What's not to love?
I don't know.
And while there is a bigger, more AAA feeling Ubisoft pirate game coming,
yeah, that's
I'm still not 100% on board with what Ubi's doing all the time. They're getting better. They're definitely getting better because
we're going to discuss that later in the show, by the way.
Stuff. Yeah, but Sea of Thieves is going to get here first, so maybe people will be over pirates.
I just feel the hype for this is artificial. I think it's being pushed really hard by some very prominent voices in the industry, but I don't feel the gravitas behind the excitement for it. Let's see. Salty back in chat again. I kind of wonder if Nintendo was going for Western family friendly before now. Nintendo has always been kind of family friendly, but like I said, a lot of that started to change. Recently, the Switch had both Skyrim and Doom, for God's sake, release on there. So I think they're finally realizing, hey, we need to embrace some of the adults
I think
out there.
More than anything, they're more willing to embrace third party.
Yeah.
And everything that entails.
I also think they're realizing that their audience that has been with them since the 80s is growing up, and they're trying to grow up with them now, finally.
Yeah.
I mean, that explains why Legend of Zelda, which was always normally a child exploring dungeons, for the most part, there are some exceptions, like Ocarina of Time, you grow up to an adult. But think of Breath of the Wild. It is an open world RPG in the vein of The Witcher or hell, even Fallout and stuff like that in Skyrim. Nintendo has grown up, not just in their subject matter, but in their gameplay as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Enough about Nintendo at the moment, though, I think. Let's go ahead and move on to what else we saw. We saw Witchfire from the Astronauts. These are the guys that made The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I love the trailer for this, by the way.
The trailer's phenomenal.
The trailer for this game starts off looking like a typical walking simulator, right? Much like how The Vanishing of Ethan Carter was. and it's spooky, and you're
it's
walking
going to be like
through...
an exploration game,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to click on things and do puzzles.
Kind of boring. I'm over walking simulators myself. But then it cuts to a black screen. It says, but also the developers of Painkiller and Bulletstorm. And then you pull out a gun and shit gets real. And it looks amazing. Because if it plays like Bulletstorm and Painkiller, sign me the fuck up right now.
Those games are, I think, kind of definitively dumb fun.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes. No,
it's not the best. It's not the best game ever.
They're Michael Bay games.
Yeah, Michael Bay games is a really, really good descriptor for that. There's explosions, there's people cussing, there's monsters, there's whatever the hell else is going on, and it plays decently well.
Yeah, you're not going to
for a shooter to do well.
You're not necessarily expecting deep story to it, though. If you've played The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, the astronauts can do story well. So it'll be interesting to see if they can merge them together. But honestly, I'll be fine if this is just a very tight, mechanically speaking shooter out there in the vein of Bulletstorm.
Cool.
So we'll see how that shakes out. What else we got?
Well, if none of those games work for you, you can also just make your own damn game with Dreams, the new Media Molecule game.
Media what?
Media Molecule? Molecule? Media Monocle?
I don't get to make fun of you for pronunciation all that often. Let me have this one.
That's fair. But this is their new game creation kit. It does have a campaign built into it. I think it has a campaign that spans like 4 different genres. You go from like a noir type game to a sci-fi game to a, I don't even know.
And they all look radically different. It's not like Little Big Planet where everything had that Sackboy style to it. Like what you could do with this game is radically different from game to game.
And everything in the campaign was built in engine, and it's apparently really feature friendly, and it's going to, I assume this is going to be a big deal. Maybe not necessarily like winning game awards or anything, but for people that are aspiring to make their own games, this is going to be huge. And the fact that it supports VR out of the box, I think we're going to get a lot of really cool stuff out of it. I'm pretty excited.
This is supposed to come out 2018, which is about time because Media Molecule hasn't done anything in a long time. And I hope this is successful. Now, Dreams does not speak to me as a player. I have no interest in it, and it's just not my cup of tea.
I would pick it up in like 2 years just to log in online and start downloading the games that other people have made.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. I hope this is successful, though, because if it's not, you can guarantee Media Molecule will get shut down. Because you can't spend that much time on one project and have it flop and still expect to be open the next day.
That's fair. When does Little Big Planet 3 come out?
Well, they didn't do Little Big Planet 3. Someone else did. They did Little Big Planet 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, look it up. You're already on it, so why don't you take a look at it? But if memory serves correctly, they did not develop Little Big Planet 3. They developed Little Big Planet 2. They've been working on Dreams since when Little Big Planet 2 came out. Which I want to say was 2009?
Yeah, that's a minute ago.
But is it 2009? I want to be accurate on that.
Little Big Planet 2 came out in 2011.
2011. When did the first one come out? Was that 2009?
Yes, I think. 2008.
Okay. So they've been working on Dreams for almost 6, going on 7 years now.
Hey, they also made Tearaway for the Vita.
That is small potatoes. Not to bash the Vita, but that is small potatoes compared to this project.
I just think it's funny at the 2013 PlayStation keynote when the PS4 was unveiled, Media Molecule was on site showing their technology of creating 3D objects and animating them with Move controllers, and that was literally Dreams.
Okay. So it at least since 2013, since the public has known about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But they did have Tearaway Unfolded come out on PS4 like 3 years ago. They haven't done nothing.
Well, like I said, I hope it works. I hope it works out for them, because if it doesn't, Media Molecule's gone flat out if they don't succeed with this one. Finally, of the big things that I saw interesting at PSX is, well,
we knew this was going to be there.
We talked about last week with who was there.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get Kojima, Del Toro, and Norman Reedus together for anything and not show off Death Stranding.
It's the most we've seen of it.
Yeah. And I would say this has given us actually kind of an idea of what the story's about even, too.
Yeah, it's
Kind
still
of.
hard to know what the hell's going on. This is like probably the most Kojima seeming trailer ever since the Phantom Pain trailer,
Yep.
I would say.
Definitely true.
Norman Reedus is in a car accident. His buddy has a baby in a 2-liter strapped to his chest, or I guess everybody does, and then they start getting attacked by invisible swamp sludge monster things that
So,
are also, dude, I don't know.
yeah, a couple takeaways from this, right? One, that little floppy thing that you're seeing on the screen, it clearly detects them.
Mhm.
Two, they do not want to be captured by these things because this guy trying to pull him out, shoots his buddy dead, and then tries to shoot himself, drops the gun, and then tries to stab himself with what looks like a pen over and over again before he gets taken by whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, you don't want to get taken. That's the big thing.
So as for the babies, I have a theory as to what that is, and I could be right or I could be horribly, horribly wrong. But notice he does not, the guy who gets the baby does not have the baby at the moment. Like, you don't see it anywhere. He's got a tank near him, but he doesn't have, there's no baby in it. It's not until he's about to get jacked, he knows he's fucked, that suddenly the baby's in there and he tosses the baby away. My theory is that the soldiers in Death Standing, whoever these people are, carry their own clone inside themselves.
Okay.
So when they're about to die, they jettison the clone into the tank. It has all their memories. They throw the clone away, which is why the baby is sentient. It can like give the thumbs up sign when it goes down his mouth. Just my theory on it. I think that's them.
That's actually a pretty damn good assumption.
Like, think about
It's weird enough to be a Kojima idea, and if the world is in like in a post-apocalyptic state, which it kind of seems that way, then maybe humanity's just slowly dying off, and the survivors realize that, hey, we're like the last of this. We don't have enough to like keep going, so none of us can really die. They figure out how to make copies of themselves, and they continue living.
Yeah, looks like the chat's agreeing with me. Salty Frank of the Seven Seas. I appreciate that. I like that we're kind of on the same wavelength here. But think about the previous trailer. I have actually some things to back up. Think about the previous trailer when you saw Del Toro. He's carrying a tank. He goes up there and he hides behind the wall, and he's taking that big breath because he's about to go into that tunnel to face Black Oil Hannibal. And he takes that breath, and you see the baby pop up into that tank. That's him knowing he's about to potentially die, so he's prepping his new clone. It's like they expel that baby when they're in danger. Second takeaway.
Does that mean in the original trailer that we see maybe Norman Reedus' clone, except for it's not in a tank?
Maybe.
And that's why he starts freaking out because his clone is dead?
That's when you get into the second theory.
Gets taken?
That's when you get into the second theory. Humanity is dying out because there are no more women.
Oh.
Have you seen a female of a train in any of these trailers yet?
No.
That's why Norman Reedus is probably upset because his baby died, because that's his fucking child. They have to resort to just men carrying babies around. We don't know. This is all spitballing, but that could be the second thing too, is that all the women are dead, like the women have died out.
Or they became the Shadow Monsters.
Or they became the Shadow Monsters. Who knows?
Which is why they're trying to steal all the babies.
For all we know, this could just be a dream of Raiden from Metal Gear.
You play through the first 2 hours of the game, and then Raiden wakes up, and he's all freaking out, and he looks directly at the camera and goes, "Did you miss me?"
Turns out none of these... hey, he could be pulling Metal Gear Solid 2, right? None of these people were in the game for more than, like, the first 5 hours.
Yeah, who knows?
And then you get, like, Harvey Keitel and Jack Nicholson in, like, some buddy cop heist caper movie. That has nothing to do with anything we've seen so far.
Turns out this is all a ruse, and he's actually just making a new Police Knots.
Ugh. It'd be amazing. All right, so that kind of wraps things up from the VGAs. There is a bunch more information out there. We kind of only talked about the big stories here. And like I said, if you want to check out the winners, by all means, take a look at them online. For the most part, all you need to know is that Dr. Disrespect won Trending Gamer of the Year, and Breath of the Wild fucking won everything else.
Everything. Including anything that Mario should have won and anything that Horizon Zero Dawn should have won.
I think Horizon Zero Dawn was actually completely shut out.
Yep, they went home completely empty-handed, which they do not deserve.
No. Anyways,
I'm just a little salty about that. I think that game deserved something.
Yeah, no, that's a
But
tragedy.
we did mention going into this that this has been one of the best damn years in gaming.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Real,
no
real
joke.
good.
You've had
It
to
was
sum
front
up,
loaded.
Nier, Persona, Resident Evil, Horizon,
Stop noting PlayStation
Mario,
games.
Breath of the Wild. Well, I have a PlayStation 4. Mario,
No.
Breath of the Wild, Divinity Original Sin 2. I'll even put Destiny 2 on that list despite all the problems it has right now. As far as just gunplay goes, that game is actually really good. Assassin's Creed Origins, who fucking expected me to say that for Game of the Year, but goddamn, that game's actually really good. And yeah, it's just been a really stellar year. So it is what it is. VGAs, however, were not the only event that happened over the past few days. We also had PSX happen this weekend.
Which was small compared to previous PSXs.
Yeah, it was kind of lackluster, to be honest. That was expected, though. Sony has been saying, hey, this is going to be a lower key event, and they kind of did it like a podcast almost, where they had a bunch of developers come out and sit on the couch. The hot rumor is they had a bunch of stuff planned to reveal at PSX, but since their response from E3 this year was kind of tepid, they just are going to completely load up 2018's E3 completely and totally. Salty Frank there says Destiny 2 is his biggest buyer's regret of the year. I get it. I love the multiplayer to it, though. I love the PvP in that game, and I don't do PvP. So they didn't really announce much. They announced a bunch of smaller games at PSX, but they had a couple big things I wanted to mention. One of them mainly being this goddamn Wipeout Omega Collection in PSVR, because I could have sworn I was just saying, either you not on the show.
No, we talked about it, how I want a new Wipeout, and you're like, man, they'd probably make that in VR, and I wouldn't be able to play it, and I said it would be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, and then sure enough, a couple days later, they announced that Wipeout Omega Collection is going to be turned to be completely compatible with VR, with PlayStation VR. And that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm so into that plan. I love Wipeout. I like all those futuristic, fast-paced racing games. It's why I'm mad that of all the things that Nintendo could have done for me, they could have made a new F-Zero game, and they still haven't, and they're probably not going to, at least anytime soon. But I mean, at least I have Wipeout.
I think it's the Mario Kart. I think it's because Nintendo goes, we could just make another Mario Kart.
Yeah.
They both F-Zero and Mario Kart are Nintendo properties. It's kind of
and
like
one of those is guaranteed to sell 1 million copies.
Yeah.
The other one is guaranteed to sell to me specifically.
It's like asking EA to make both Madden and continue the 2K sports franchise. There's too much overlap there. It doesn't necessarily work what's going on there. What else was announced at PSX?
I gotta call out chat really quick.
Okay.
This has the greatest line. He's got more regret buying Destiny 2 than the Triple Dave's burger from Wendy's that he bought that was covered in rancid grease, made him sick on the toilet for a week.
I can admit that I never had
joke,
that.
Man. It's a lot of real bad food.
It is. I like their baked potatoes. I like those fucking dollar baked potatoes they have. I don't know what it is. I can.
So is that what
wolf down
Destiny
those
2
things.
needs? More dollar baked potatoes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Less prismatic lenses?
So before we get into the next story, you mentioned the prismatic lens. Zura, who's their item seller, started to sell that out over the weekend, kind of killed that. I was blessed enough, however, to get that as my first drop ever in the new expansion of Destiny 2. So I would literally have like 15 to 1 KDTs. It was ridiculous. That gun fucking broke PvP for a good 3 or 4 days. Now it's just laser tag.
Yeah, well, because I actually think it's kind of funny. They're like, yeah, we're going to patch this. The patch is going to go in on Tuesday. It'll be fixed. In the meantime, everybody can buy it and go nuts.
Yeah, it's a good fix to it, I guess. It's mutually assured destruction. Back to the topic of PSX. There were two more announcements that happened. One was Donut Country? County? Donut County. I think it's Donut County. I think I typed that in. I believe it's Donut County. Let me.
Oh, it is. You're right.
Just double check here. I'm here.
You're right.
Donut County. Strong Katamari Damacy vibes coming from here. Essentially,
there's no little king or little prince.
No, but there is a very colorful art style and a puzzle mechanic that involves getting bigger. And this time around, instead of rolling the ball around, you're like a little tiny hole in the ground. And you move the hole around to suck up smaller objects in there. And every time something falls in, you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Additionally, it had 2 trash pandas talking it up. So I'm actually really wanting to play this goddamn game.
All right, that's cool. I'll get into the last one because for me it was really damn surprising. I didn't really see it coming, but yeah, Medieval coming to PS4, getting remastered.
So go ahead.
Like it's basically what Ghouls and Ghosts kind of became on PlayStation.
No, I'm going to have to nitpick you there. Ghouls and Ghosts is what Maximo was.
Oh, you're right.
I think you might be getting a little confused there. But
that's very true.
Medieval Sir Daniel Fortesque is coming back in 4K on PS4 sometime next year. I think it said. Didn't really give a firm date. My sources told me that they were going to have a remaster of a game, but I was told it was going to be Spyro. So I get the feeling that they pulled the Spyro announcement, and that will happen at E3 next year. In fact, that's going to be one of my predictions on our prediction show before E3 next year, is that Spyro Remastered will happen.
That's an easy one. I feel like we both called that at the beginning of this year. I'm just going to keep calling the same thing over and over.
If I keep saying Betty White's going to die every year, one year she will die, and I'll be Nostradamus.
Or, just to screw with you, she won't. She's that kind of lady.
Possibly. Excuse me. So, like I said, PSX, kind of a small disappointing show. Very low-key this year. They had a bunch more announcements than that, but it was even minor stuff than we talked about here. They mentioned things like God of War's length being in the 30-hour region, which is surprising. Kind of want to play that, but nothing real meaty there. You could definitely find the entire conference. I don't even know if they called it a conference, but you can find the whole thing on YouTube if you want to sit and watch it. Very, very laid back. Developers on chairs. I like how they set it up, but I just kind of wish there was more to it than what they showed. Especially considering it was like an hour and a half. I mean, it was fucking long for how little information came out of that.
Patapon 2 remastered?
Like I said, it's all small potatoes.
That's fair.
I do love Patapon, though.
I don't remember how much of it's going to Vita. Like at least 4 games, I think.
I know Papers, Please just got that finally is coming out to Vita, but beyond that, I don't recall.
Who knows?
So before we wrap things up here, David, we do have a couple more stories I want to hit up. Not involving PSX or the VGAs. We did have a couple of other things. One small one I want to mention. No, never mind. I take that back. I don't want to mention that. I am going to talk about the fact that fucking Gabe Newell has forsaken us, though, and announced a new Portal game. Kind of. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Bridge Constructor Portal, coming in 2018. A Portal-themed tie-in to the Bridge Constructor series. I know this is the game that we've all been waiting for. I know that we've been eagerly anticipating to see if Valve can finally count to 3, and the answer is no, they fucking can't. And I wish they would just come out and say, we are not making any real games anymore, because they're not even really developing this. This is just a...
They licensed Portal.
Yeah.
The Bridge guys.
Bridge Constructor is a long-standing series. A fun game, don't get me wrong. It's a great little mobile game, but man, this is just so not what I want. Salty Frank, yeah, thinking of Portals, you're good with it. I'm good with the game itself too. I do want to play it, but this is not...
It's not what you want to hear from the Valve camp.
It feels like they're just deliberately trolling me now, right? Doesn't it feel like you're just being fucked with at this point?
I mean, I think he's more or less came out and said that's his whole plan, because he doesn't give a shit about the gamers anymore.
I don't know if he's actually said that. But
mainly because we're such assholes. Why the hell would they do us any favors?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way the game would ever be living up to any hype that comes out with it. And honestly, Gabe Newell...
any game they made right now, like if they made another Left 4 Dead, if they made another Portal, if they made another Half-Life, which will never happen, it's just going to come under so much scrutiny, and people will be so mad at it. No matter the quality, it could be the best damn game ever made, and people will still get pissed for whatever reason.
And I wish they would just say we're not making them. Just come out and say, we are done. Maybe even hand the IPs off to other people so they can make games with them. But I just want Valve to go, we are not making these anymore, rather than to see people doing it. Because everyone that was working on any of these is fucking retired at this point. Like, Mark Laidlaw's gone. I can't remember the other guy's name who just recently bounced out as well. If you know chat, by the way, fill it in the bottom there. But Gabe Newell, much like Notch, both have fuck you money. It's just Notch is open with saying he has fuck you money. I want Gabe Newell to be a little bit more open with his fuck you-ness.
I gotcha. It's like, dude, I made my money. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, just say that. Just fucking tell me that you're done, rather than he's like that. He's like that ex relationship that we have all had, where you kind of wanted to break up with them, but you never quite did, and they kept saying, no, I'll change. They kind of keep stringing you along, and it's like, okay, that's it. I'm done. But then they wheel you back in again a little bit more, and you think it's good for a little bit, but then you start realizing it's fucking terrible again.
Is that your relationship with Valve?
Yes. They're an abusive spouse. They treat me like shit, but then they bat their eyes and say I'm sorry, and I come crawling back every fucking time. Sure, Salty Frank. Go ahead and post it. I think you're going to get like restricted, but I can approve it on my end. Go ahead and post that link on there, and if it's relevant, we'll revisit later. But in the meantime, David, why don't you go ahead and talk about the next topic on here? Salty Frank, why don't you just go ahead and private message me that link, and I'll take a look at it.
Well, we're getting a Devil May Cry HD collection on PC, PS4, and Xbox One, both digitally and at retail, and it comes out in March on the 13th, 2018. Not even 2019. It contains all of the DMC games except for 4, which is weird. 1, 2, and 3, I guess, specifically. It doesn't actually include DMC, so these are Devil May Cry games.
Doesn't go with 4 either.
No 5. That's still... that game doesn't exist, even though fucking we all know it should. And it probably, like, maybe this is just to remind everybody that Devil May Cry exists, and like a week after this comes out, or the week before this comes out, they'd be like, by the way, Devil May Cry 5 coming Q1 2019. I mean, who knows?
That's what I think. That's my theory on it. You don't do a remaster on a game. Well, I mean, I guess you do a remaster on the game, but this didn't quite.
You'll do a lot of remasters for games, but a series that's that popular, that has so many people like clamoring for another one, I feel like they're doing that on purpose.
Yeah, this is gearing up to something, and Devil May Cry 5 is like the worst kept secret in the gaming industry right now. We can all but confirm that not only exists, but will be announced at E3 this year. In fact, one of the rumors was this was going to be at PSX, but since they're trying to make E3, Sony's trying to make E3 as huge and impactful as the last 2 years were, not this year, but the last 2 before that, it got pushed back to E3 because Sony wants that.
I feel like they're mad that they didn't stomp all over Microsoft this time. So they're like, oh no, we're going to save everything for E3.
Yeah, they want a blunderbuss of hype to point right at Microsoft's head. They want to cover Major Nelson with their bukkake of hype.
Wow. Okay.
That is
that's fine.
Frank, thank you for sending that link. I am checking out the first comment on there. Kind of have to see it to really get it. Finally, the last bit of news tonight is going to be talking about Ubisoft delaying some games. Now, why the fuck do we care if Ubisoft delays games, David?
Because it's a good damn idea. Stop releasing games every 6 months. They're all broken and suck.
In this little press release, which I hope you can read there, it's kind of small text right there. It says that back in December 7th, Ubisoft announced it's investing more time in development of 3 upcoming games. Far Cry 5 is now slated for March 27th. The Crew 2 will come out the first half of 2018-19, and an unannounced game will be pushed back another year. Now, normally we don't care about shit getting delayed, right? It's delayed.
Not if it's far enough out and,
yeah.
Most of the time it'll lead to a better experience.
Yeah. In this case, the reason why it's important to mention it is because of this following quote right here that goes on the press release. It says, "Taking more time with Assassin's Creed Origins enabled our talented development team to fully express their creative vision. As expected, this had a very positive impact on the game's quality and largely participated to its commercial success. Taking a similar approach, we have decided to invest additional development time in 3 upcoming games. That was from Christine Burgess-Quimon, Ubisoft Worldwide Studios Executive Director. Because they stopped annualizing Assassin's Creed Origins and made a fucking amazing game. Assassin's Creed Origins is really goddamn good, and it's really weird for me to say that about an Assassin's Creed game.
Because they're out every year.
Yeah, they're out
like
every
talking
year.
about how the new Madden is just so much better than the last one.
Yeah,
Well,
they actually
maybe
took their time, created something new and different and of quality. It's made Ubisoft realize, hey, we are going to, instead of trying to rush games out, we are going to take the time to make the game good, then release it.
I also think they were becoming aware of how
Christ.
mad just gamers could be in general. Like, how about the fact that this Assassin's Creed game came out, and guess what you could play it on? PC.
Yeah.
You know
admittedly, a month after it came out.
That's fine, but guess what it didn't do? A crash a million ways from Sunday.
Yeah, it wasn't busted.
I mean, it's still buggy. All games kind of are, depending on their scope.
Especially in PC.
But it's not downright broken like some previous Assassin's Creeds that hit PC.
Thank fucking Christ, Ubisoft. Thank you for doing this. I know we gave you a lot of shit, and especially when this show first started up a year and a half, 2 years ago, you were the target of ridicule all the time, and you still have some shit we hate you for. You play, for example, your aggressive pre-order marketing for another example. But lately, for the past few months, it feels like Ubisoft was fucking doing it well. And real well.
I'm actually more excited about the Crew 2 being delayed, I think, than Far Cry. Because I was still kind of looking forward to Far Cry anyway. But I think the original Crew is a game that had a ton of potential, but just wasn't really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. It has a good base to grow from. Salty Frank is asking how it compares to Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That was the only AC game he could handle. Salty Frank, you'll be pleased to know that the guys that did Assassin's Creed Origins is the exact same team that did Black Flag. They went right from that game into this one. The past few Assassin's Creed games have been handled by other teams. So this is getting the band back together. And it's
gonna be the closest you can get.
It's no coincidence that this is the best game since Black Flag.
Yeah. Dream Team's back.
Anyways, that's good. I'm glad Ubisoft's taking the time to make some good changes to their games. I'm definitely looking forward to Far Cry 5. You're looking forward to The Crew 2. But David,
I also
those
like
games...
the fact that they pushed back one of 3 unannounced games.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious to see what the other games to that are. I'm curious to see
what all of them are.
But okay. Those games aren't out until next year, David. If I wanted to play something right now, what could I play?
Oh, well, you got a whole bunch of stuff coming out this week, as long as you don't want anything brand new. You don't want anything brand new, right? Let's talk about things you can revisit this week. How about the fact that you can play Fallout 4 in VR finally?
That I just don't care.
It is on HTC Vive, and it looks pretty damn good, but I don't know. I like the idea of VR games, but until the gameplay, I guess, is more solid, I'm just not 100% on board yet.
They control weird still. It's still a really weird...
I don't like teleport moving.
Well, a lot of them don't have teleport moving anymore. What's weird is we're not quite 100% synced up with the motions yet. So it falls into that uncanny valley area to where you're immersed fully in this world.
Good, but you're not totally there.
So, for example, let's say I'm playing a driving game and I can get into a car on a console and drive just fine. I don't expect the dashboard to open up. I don't expect to be able to pull up my parking brake or anything like that. But when you get into VR, your brain goes, okay, something's wrong that I can't just go down, grab the parking brake and pull it up or pull the dashboard open. So there's a disconnect between what you're seeing and how you know reality should work. And it really does a detriment to the actual game itself. We're not there as far as immersion goes yet.
Anyway, get rehyped. Fallout 4 VR coming out this week. We're not good at selling things. More games you can revisit. Okami. That damn game. One of the greatest Zelda games to come out that specific year. Okami HD is coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Yes, this is the one where you play as the magic dog named Amaterasu, I believe.
Also, I believe Amaterasu is coming to Dota. I could have sworn I saw something on that recently.
That's cool. Anyway, Okami is a damn good game, and
Yeah.
this is something that I think that's really needed in HD Masters. So,
If you've missed it the first 2 or 3 times it's been re-released, here you go.
cool. If somehow you didn't pick this up at the beginning of the year, it's now the end of the year, and it's the perfect time to get into Resident Evil 7. The Golden Edition comes out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
All the DLC to it. That game is amazing.
Complete edition, more or less.
Yeah, I do highly recommend it. It's a return to form for horror as far as the franchise goes, while
It's like an actual survival horror game.
While taking the game in a dramatically new direction by being all in first person. What I really appreciate about Resident Evil 7 is that for the first 80% of that game, you look at that and go, wow, this is like a complete reboot. There's no way this is tied into the Resident Evil. Oh, that's how it all ties together.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
Also coming out this week, the PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds Xbox game preview, right? Comes out on the 12th. I don't think it's actually out yet, but it's like the Xbox beta.
I know that the gold version, the 1.0 version of that game, I want to say it's December 20th.
Yeah, that's for PC. I don't know, but you can play PUBG on Xbox tomorrow.
Some people can. I think it's like a limited time beta, but not really a beta. Either way, it's coming out to console very soon.
Cool. How about Final Fantasy 15 Episode Ignis?
So
are you into that?
I like Final Fantasy 15.
Do you?
Yeah, I liked what I played of it. I also stopped playing it like
Noctis in the new Dissidia game.
Yeah, I also liked what I didn't like was I played it for about 10 hours and I stopped when I realized they're going to be slow dripping content for this game for like a year plus, and it's not just content that's side story shit. They fill in a lot of fucking gaps the main storyline has. So I stopped playing this game about 10 hours in and I went, okay, I'm not touching this until every bit of DLC is finally released, and then I'll revisit it.
That's fair. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Get your Final Fantasy on. Also, call it to chat. I think Fortnite might have cornered the Battle Royale market on Xbone. I'm totally with that. Fortnite is the clean, polished version of PUBG that we've all needed. I get that Battlegrounds is way more popular as far as player base and streaming, but come on, have you tried that Fortnite 50v50 mode?
Not yet, but I'm really excited. I want to play that because I like the idea of teams are so massive, you'll actually have people who are dedicated builders whose sole job is to build fortifications while other people protect them.
You'll become herd mentalities. It's like walls of zombies rushing at each other because no one's going to go sneak out on their own because it's just nonsense all day.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Also coming out this week, Fade to Silence Early Access, which is funny because we literally just saw the teaser for this.
That's why I think that early access game is going to be kind of crap.
Yeah, so again, if you don't remember the beginning of the show or if you missed it, Fade to Silence is the survivor post-apocalyptic frozen wasteland game. Gather resources, fight monsters, make a home base. You fight eldritch Cthulhu things. Made by Black Forest Games, published by THQ.
Caveat emptor on that, guys. Just be very careful before you spend money on it.
Yeah, probably a solid B release if it's actually polished at all. Finally, a game I didn't think I would ever announce on this show, but Romancing Saga 2 comes out on PC, PS4, Xbox, Switch, and Vita.
Yeah, Vita specifically is what's really weird.
That's great. I mean, this is actually a great game for both the Vita and the Switch. I don't think I'd play it on any of the other things. This is a full, true-to-form 90s JRPG.
Yeah, a perfect place for it on the
Nintendo
Switch.
in like '93. It's gonna feel like an old school JRPG. You're gonna line up in a row and fight things. It's got updated graphics. Now, the interesting thing about the Saga games, they're all a little weird. They all have something going on with them. In this one, you play as a character, but your character can actually grow old and die as you're going through it. But that's okay because your descendant is going to inherit all your stats. So if you never looked at the Saga games, like I said, they're all a little weird. They're not all exactly the same, but Romancing Saga 2 is a pretty damn good game.
So a little bird's telling me one of the reasons why we have not had the Switch have their full online capability come out yet is because Nintendo decided to, at the last minute, go, you know what? Let's give the North American audiences what they've been asking for and give them their entire access to access to their entire classic library like they do in Japan. and it's taking
Gotcha.
time to do the localization for all that. Not on the games themselves; the games are already localized, but to do the support to make sure that the North American market can handle all that, the North American stores can handle all that, etc. That's just a rumor that I've been hearing. Take that with a grain of salt. I'll believe it when I see it, but I've had some rumors be true in the past, so.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you're great. Sometimes he says rumors that are true.
My
Get
rumors
that.
tend to have a little bit more oomph than your average jackass behind a microphone and a camera, and I think you know why.
Oh, mine have none. Don't believe my rumors. I'm usually making them up.
So, thanks for giving us some new releases, David, and I believe that wraps things up for Game Points episode 115. If you are watching this...
Stop talking to you and go play more Monster Hunter?
Yeah, absolutely. Get in before 9 o'clock happens. If you can, please join us live every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Twitch TV/GamePoints and join in the conversation, much like Salty Frank of the Seven Seas did. We do appreciate people asking questions, giving their feedback, and we try to interact with you as the show goes on. If you happen to watch us live, give us a like, subscribe, and all that good stuff down below. If you can't watch us live, feel free to check out our YouTube page. That's GamePoints, one word. We should pop right up and do the same thing there. Like, dislike, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. We do try to get back to you. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at GamePoints PC. You can follow myself at CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David over there at Palshife_Satori. But until next week, this has been Game Points, and we will catch you next week. See you then.